Welcome, brethren and guests, and everyone in Cyberland. Welcome to the Israelite Nation Worldwide Ministries. Thank you for tuning in to today's 2 p.m. lesson. We are so pleased and happy to have you. We've already been having a day today, so bear with us. We're rolling with the punches, but I hope that you guys really enjoyed today's message. I hope that it speaks to you. I know it definitely does to all of us here, especially being in this 40th year. We've had an amazing weekend, well, a few weekends of celebrations for our 40th year that have been so awesome, from having the gala to having the journey to having the day that we came in and basically everything looked like a museum in here. We've been having a time of celebration and truly giving back to the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob for everything that he has given us, and even sending us our elder Shadrach that has restored this for now 40 years. And even we had dedication recently. And I just feel like this lesson is so fitting on the milk and honey mindset going into this post 40th year. And some of you might just say, like, what is this milk and honey mindset? So to start off, like, we were never meant to die in the wilderness. We were never meant to walk in fear, but we were called to enter, to possess, and to flourish in the land that flows with milk and honey. So the journey into the promise requires more than, physical freedom, but it demands a transformed and renewed mind and an unshakable faith. So many were called out of Egypt, but only few actually made it into the land of Canaan. And some might even ask why or how come. But it was because fear and flesh and doubt devoured our people, our forefathers, long before the enemy ever could. So this is a call to rise up into this mindset of milk and honey, which basically means to remember the promise, remember what you're on the brink of greatness, and truly a mindset just rooted in truth, guided in spirit, and driven by faith, so that we now in the present day and age can walk in faith and really accomplish and conquer this world in the name of the greatest God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. So when we look historically into the time of Egypt and being enslaved, when our people were delivered from this, then, we were in the wilderness and we were right at the threshold of conquering Canaan. But the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob said, you know what? Canaan is already prepared for you. Canaan is already yours. But this is what you have to do now. You got to go and you actually have to conquer it now, and you have to have faith and believe in what I say. Believe that it is prepared for you. So you know what, Moses? Send out some spies. And the spies weren't necessarily a test to confirm or deny everything that God had said, because, what God says is true. But it was, send your spies out so that when they come back with their reports, you guys still walk in faith. Moses sent out 12 spies. They came back and they confirmed everything that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had said. This land is flowing, it overfloweth. It's fruitful, it's beautiful, it's magnificent. But 10 of those spies let fear and let doubt cloud their report. And they told the people, you know what? Those people look like giants, like they're grasshoppers. The city is so fortified, like we don't know if we could ever accomplish that. And they let fear cloud that report over what God had already said, over what God had already prepared. So because the children in the wilderness were so clouded by their fleshly thoughts and feelings, they weren't able to be led in spirit and in truth, and they did not let that faith in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob guide them. So what meets the eye was the truth. Like, oh my gosh, you think that we can't accomplish this task? It must be true. We're fearful, we're going to murmur now. They actually looked for new leadership to bring them back into Egypt. They're like, no, we're not going to go through with this. We're actually going to abort the mission. We want to leave. We want to get out of here. Who cares what God had already told us? If the spies are coming back and saying what they've seen, like what meets their eyes, then clearly we all should adopt that over, the things that we cannot see, over things that we can't fathom, and we should get on out of here. And because they had felt that way, the God of Israel told them that they would die in the wilderness. But Caleb and Joshua were actually able to say, you know what? It does, like, we're seeing everything else that everyone else is seeing. But however, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob did say that he prepared this place. He did say that this land would be ours. He did say to just hold strong and keep going. So you know what? I'm seeing it, but because my faith is so strong, it's drowning out that internal noise. Because they had that milk and honey mindset, the mindset of dwelling on the promise rather than what meets the eye, it drowned out all of that internal doubt, all of that conflict, all of that confusion, all of that murmuring, all the opinions and the false prophets that dwelt among Israel in the wilderness. It drowned all of that out, and they were able to see through a spiritual eye to say, you know what? We move forward, we go through, and the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob will help us overcome it. And because of that, only Joshua and Caleb were able to see the promised land. And everyone else that had that fear, that did not have that milk and honey mindset, that didn't have a renewed mindset, and that they can accomplish anything that they put their mind to do because they have the support of their God, all of them were set to die in the wilderness. So I think it's something that we can even take now, because right now we're not looking to Canaan right now to see, okay, that's our promised land. We're going to get that land right now. We have so much other promises that was in store for us that still, has not come to fruition. Whether it's post 40th year and wanting to do bigger and better things for the nation, wanting to multiply, wanting to add to the flock. Whether it be to teach more nations, whether it be to fulfill the prophecy of being the head and no longer the tail, whether it's the promise of eternal life and a new Jerusalem to dwell amongst our forefathers. There are so many other promises that are still in store for us in the present day and age that we can use that milk and honey mindset and we can apply it to today, and we can now be that generation that chooses to move on and to be like Caleb and Joshua and move with a spiritual mindset. So I feel like we should even go to Numbers 14 and just basically read only 2 verses from there, just so that, like I said, we set the tone on what this mindset even is. Numbers 14, let's go to verse 22, and I will only read 22 to 24. Because all those men which have seen my glory and my miracles which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have tempted me, now these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice. Surely they shall not see the land which I swear unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoked me see it. But my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit with him, and hath followed me fully, him will I bring into the land whereinto he went, and his seed shall possess it. So one, it's showing that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he is angered because he did a lot for our people to get them out of Egypt. He completely tore apart Egypt within itself. He killed their firstborn. He sent plagues. He walked them through on dry ground. He sent manna down in the wilderness. But yet you guys don't trust in me. I don't deserve your trust fully. I have let miracles happen before your own very eyes. And yet, my word is not enough for you guys to walk in faith and to lead in spirit. That, you know what? He's led me before doing a madness. Now, if he says that we can have Canaan, who cares what Canaan looks like? We can have Canaan because our God said so. He just did miracles what no other nation has seen before. It was unprecedented, but still it wasn't enough. And to really be on the brink, on the threshold of greatness, and to kind of fail right there, it's just something that we never want to repeat. Once again, I talk about bringing this into the present day and age. Sometimes we may see the nation thriving. It's like, oh my gosh, it's great. Sometimes we may have trials and tribulations and warfare. And that sometimes can show that, you know what, it's only but a season. And if we use that milk and honey mindset, maybe when it's really rough, maybe when it's really tough, maybe when people are having doubt and there's murmuring and people are leaving, maybe we're right at the brink of greatness. Maybe if we just turn that doorknob, that great substance is waiting for us. Maybe if we just hold on through all the chaos that we're seeing, it's actually setting the tone for only the strong-willed and the strong-spirited to survive in the next stage. So right now, I don't know, you could see the nation kind of having ups and downs. but it's like, are the downs for a cleansing? Are the downs to see who will stay the course and who will leave? Are the downs to show for you what that bigger picture is for you? Like I said, we have so many other promises that we are still in store for: being the head and no longer the tail, eternal life, a new Jerusalem, great substance. There's so much that's still waiting for us, that sometimes when we're in turmoil, sometimes it takes for us to say to ourselves, is this for a purpose? Should I actually be tuning out the noise right now and buckling down and strapping in and saying, who cares about my feelings? Who cares about my well-being necessarily right now? Because I know that this will only be for a season. And let me trust who the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob has put in place. Let me trust where his altar resides. Let me trust that there is a bigger plan rather than us all just suffering. Like, let me trust that he doesn't want his people to just be desolate and there to just only be one. He wants the people to serve him. So let's put all your faith and, our trust in the God of Israel, that even if we're in turmoil, maybe it's for a reason and we should just trust in the Lord. So I think that milk and honey mindset is truly the essence of that, of saying, you know what, let's not move in what meets the eye, but let's lead in spirit. Let's finally be that generation that is worthy enough to fulfill the God of Israel's purpose, to fulfill his plan and everything that he had set, because he always has this immaculate plans, and then it's like, you guys are not doing your portion, so then I couldn't do this. You guys are not doing this, so then I couldn't do this. You guys are doing this, so then I couldn't give you great substance. You got, like, it's always a great miraculous plan, but it's us not having that faith and that belief in him, that unshakable faith to really stay the course and be strong in him and with him, so that he can let all those things come to fruition. So now we are so privileged to even have stories of our forefathers, of the times that they did good and the times that they did bad, the times that the God of Israel was happy and the times that he put some people to death, so that we now can have the privilege of choice and the privilege to choose righteousness and the privilege to set our mindset in a renewed format, so that we may walk in holiness. We have that ability. So I just think that that's such a privilege that each and every one of us really needs to understand the essence of. So that we, like I said, can have that milk and honey mindset and be like Caleb and Joshua and say, you know what? Who cares what's happening now? We move on. We move forward. Who's with us? Because if you're not with us, you're against us. And let's go on. So, like I said, that means for us today is that if we want to go into the promise of tomorrow, we cannot be thinking like those of the past. You can't walk into great substance without learning the lessons from old. And the land of milk and honey, it's not just a place, but it's a purpose where we reign, we build, and where we lead. So you cannot be led in fleshly emotions, but only and solely by spirit. Fix your focus. So stop rehearsing the defeat. Stop rehearsing the failure. Stop rehearsing the shortcomings, but start remembering the promise. Walk by faith and not by sight. By sight, it might seem overwhelming. By sight, it might look impossible. But you know that if you have that faith, there's nothing impossible that your God, could not do. He can do everything. So walk in that faith and not by sight, because walking in sight will lead you astray. But walking in faith will lead you into righteousness. We have to learn to feed the spirit and to starve the flesh, because the flesh is what whispers the doubt. The flesh is what whispers the confusion. The flesh is where we get tripped up. But if we start to feed the spirit, and the way that we can do that is through doctrine, is through worshiping and giving glory to our God, but it's through choosing obedience every single day. That is how we will be able to kind of feed the spirit and starve the flesh, so that we can walk righteously. And I'll say to surround yourself also with Caleb's and Joshua's. So sometimes we always say, surround yourself by an Israelite support system. But not all Israel we know is Israel. There was Israel in the wilderness, and yet only 2 made it to Canaan. So have an Israelite support system that has a mindset like Caleb and Joshua, that can have a spiritual eye. So you need people who see with spiritual eyes and remind you that you are able to overcome it, remind you that it is just but a season. For the door does not open to fear, but it opens to faith. And what that means is that there's no excuses for fear in the kingdom of God. And we can even see that in the parable of the talents, because he gave every man according to his own ability. And everyone's working their portion and coming back with abundance. But the one that was like, you know what, like, Lord, you're hard to please, and I was scared, so I buried it, because you're probably thinking you're keeping it safe, and he's gonna return, so I want to make sure it's still here when he returns. But it's like, it defeats the purpose that you were created for if you don't multiply. So if you just say that, oh Lord, I feared, you get rebuked, because we see in that parable the ones that multiplied, he said, oh, like, thank you, my faithful servant, you can now be welcomed into the joy of the Lord. But the one that had buried the talent, he actually called him like a slothful and wicked servant. Like, he was rebuked and said, you know what, the one talent that you actually buried, come here, give it back to me, and let me give it to the ones that multiplied. So even tucking your talent away and keeping that out of fear, it's like that doesn't keep it safe to you. It doesn't multiply his kingdom, but actually it leaves you vulnerable to get rebuked and to get your talent taken away and given to another. So if you don't want to lose that talent, you have to start multiplying. There's two kinds of servants: ones that is faithful and multiply, or ones that are fearful and called slothful and wicked. So it's like, which one, especially like I say, post 40th year, and with all the more promises to come, which one do you choose to be? So I feel like we should read that maybe a little bit. Maybe we'll skim it. And that's Matthew 25. We'll start at verse 14. And I even love how it starts off. For the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. So it's mirroring the way that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob treats his flock and his people. He gives every man according to his ability. So I think even through that, we know that everyone doesn't get the same portion, but everyone gets something, and it equips you for you. It is catered to you. So don't compare yourself to the next and think, okay, I need to have this, or I need to be exactly like this person. He gives every man according to his ability, and he expects something back from everyone. Not necessarily, once again, the same amount, but something is required of you. So if you're thinking in that mindset that something is required of me, I have been given talents. Think about what you're going to now present, what you're going to give back. Think about when he returns, being like, God, look at everything that I've done with the talents that you've given me. Look at who I've become. Look at how I've made your kingdom multiply. And if you can't be in a position to say that, it's time to start working so that you're able to do so. We will go, like I said, 25 and verse 14. For the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. And unto one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to every man according to his several ability, and straightway took his journey. Then he that had received the 5 talents went and traded with the same, and made them another 5 talents. And likewise he that had 2, he also gained another 2. But he that had received 1 went and digged in the earth and hid his Lord's money. After a long time, the Lord of those servants cometh and reckoneth with them. And so he that had received 5 talents came and brought other 5 talents, saying, Lord, thou deliverest unto me 5. Behold, I have gained beside them 5 talents more. Like I said, what do you now want to show that you have done with everything that he has given you? How have you put your hands in? How have you been fruitful? His Lord said unto him, Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. He also that had received 2 talents came and said, Lord, thou deliverest unto me 2 talents. Behold, I have gained another 2 talents beside them. His Lord said unto him, Well done, good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. Then he which had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew thee that thou art an hard man, reaping where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not strawed. And I was afraid and went and hid thy talent in the earth. Lo, there thou hast that is thine. His Lord answered and said unto him, Thou wicked and slothful servant, thou knewest that I reap where I sowed not, and gather where I have not strawed. Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received mine own with usury. Take therefore the talent from him, and give it unto him which hath 10 talents. For unto every one that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that hath not shall be taken away even that which he hath. And cast ye the unprofitable servant into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So it shows that he didn't do anything outwardly wicked. He didn't do anything that was truly malicious and had ill intent towards let's just say his Lord in this case. But it's like, you did nothing with what I have given you, so therefore there is no use for you. Even what I've given unto you, give it to somebody that can be fruitful. Give it to somebody that can be prosperous. And it even shows us today is that sometimes we're afraid to speak out and let our light shine. We're afraid to show our talents. We let fear once again just suppress everything that the God of Israel has stored within us. And because of that, like, you never know what's in you. You could probably be lifting up nations, some of you. You don't know what you have inside, but because you suppress that, it suppresses the power and the work of the true and living God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. So it shows that he not only wants you to have this milk and honey mindset and go out and go get it, but once you go out and you go get it, return it back unto him. And not just for the world, because a lot of people, they like to have achievements and say, okay, we're gonna improve our communities, we're gonna improve the Jacobites. But he's looking specifically for his kingdom. So what are you giving back unto his flock? Not for the world, not for your community, not for just the Jacobites, but what are you giving back unto the kingdom of God? And if it is nothing, then there is no use for you. Even if, your heart's in the right place, you're rebuked, you're wicked, you're slothful, give your talents to someone that can multiply and be fruitful. But it also shows that it doesn't need to be perfect. It can be imperfect as long as you are trying, as long as you are investing, as long as you are working your portion. You are looked at favorably from the eyes of the true and living God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. So don't think you need to be perfect to start. Don't think you have to have all your ducks in a row to now start accomplishing and doing great things for our God. Start now. Learn along the way. He just wants to see people moving and shaking for him. He just wants to see your feet quickened to make him proud. And that will, like it said, it will bless them more. He blessed them more that worked and came back with more fruits from their labor, for more fruits from the talents that he had given them. So if you're doing stuff and you're working, more will be given unto you. And a lot of people look and they say, okay, like Abraham was blessed abundantly. Like, oh, they probably thought like everything great happens to Abraham. Like Abraham was ready to give up his only son. Like you guys are not doing the same. So of course now he has abundance because it came from trials and tribulations and unshakable faith. So it's like when you have the talent and you give back and you are fruitful and multiply the kingdom, more is given unto you. So to others, it might seem like you have everything, that you're deserving of everything. Oh, God must just, favor you. But it comes from inside. It comes from within. Like Abraham was able through his seed to give into the entire foundation of Israel. The entire foundation, the covenant, like everything came through Abraham walking in his purpose. So him being blessed abundantly, him having the riches of the earth, him having like it's nothing compared to what he was willing to do for the heart of his God, what he was willing to achieve for his purpose. So when we do develop this mindset, once again, and start reaping these rewards, remember where these rewards are coming from. Remember who your God is and give back unto his flock. And remember that bigger picture. Don't bury your gift in fear and trauma and laziness and worldly distraction, because when he looks upon us, let him find fruit. So some of you are sitting on gifts. So it's time to start working your portion and giving back unto your people, God's people. We are meant to build, we are meant to lead, we are meant to multiply. So today, leave behind that wilderness mindset that we're talking about and reject the report of the fearful, but stand like Caleb and Joshua and walk boldly into your promise, because the land flows with milk and honey and it already belongs to you. Yes. So, one thing about it, fear is a hell of a thing. But like I said, we are blessed to have stories upon stories of our foreparents that did good and that did bad and that walked righteously. So I want to even go to Hebrews 11, because everyone that is mentioned in Hebrews 11 walked faithfully for the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And most of them didn't even see the promise that they were working for, but they were moved and led by spirit. They were consumed by faith, that even their fleshly emotions were suppressed and, like I said, were drowned out, that they only saw the bigger picture, which is to add on to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob's plan, to multiply his flock, to give back not to the world, but to the Israelites, to the God of Israel's kingdom. But they also had in their mind their promise of eternal life, of a new Jerusalem, of a land not made by man's hands, but a land made by God's hands. And that quickened their feet to move through faith. Faith is not just an emotion, but it is a force. And once we develop that faith, like, we become forces to be reckoned with. The faith quickens our feet. The faith allows us to be humble and to have obedience, because when you have faith and you believe, there's nothing you can do besides follow. So once you have that faith, it leads the spirit. It leads your inward parts so that you can walk closely unto the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So Hebrews 11, I might not read the entire chapter depending on how much time we have. But faith is how we see the promise before we even touch it. And it is not emotions, but it is just true inner essence and substance. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Once again, I said to walk not just in sight, but to walk being led by the Spirit, because what you see will frighten you, but let the words of your God lead you. For by it elders obtained a good report. Through faith, we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. By faith, Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaketh. So when we look at Abel, he gave the firstborn of his flock. It wasn't just an everyday, okay, I'm just going to give the God of Israel a little bit of fruits, a little bit of vegetables, going to give him one lamb, one sheep. But it was thoughtful. There was an inner essence about the gifts that he was given. Like, I'm going to give my God the best of the best, even if it was to his own sacrifice. Because when you look at faith, faith is rooted in truth, even sometimes when it costs us. It honors God. So Abel had that in the forefront of his mind, and that's why he had a more excellent sacrifice. By faith, Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found because God had translated him. For before his translation, he had this testimony that he pleased God. But without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Enoch was actually born in a wicked generation, but it said that he stayed nigh unto God and believed in God for 300 years. And because of that, he did not die, but he was immediately taken by the hand of God. So it shows that sometimes even consistent dedication and faith is more powerful than everyday open miracles that you're just performing. It's sometimes that quiet strength, that strong spirit that can lead you close to righteousness for 300 years in a wicked generation. Like he walked when he wasn't even he wasn't in a good generation, but he wasn't even near the promise. But yet he walked as if he was worthy. He walked as if he wanted to be a part of the promise and see the promise. And because he already trained his spirit in all of that time to have the bigger picture in mind, in New Jerusalem, the laws, the statutes, the commandments, everything the God of Israel has in store for us in this life and the next, because that quickened his feet, his body was already moving in a fashion that was worthy of that. And that's how we have to think today is like, do we want to be worthy of dwelling in his tabernacle? Do we want to be worthy of being chosen? Do we want to be worthy of making it once again in this life and the next? And if that quickens your feet and you let faith guide you, then the spirit will only become stronger and it'll only continue to be fed, and you will stay in the path of holiness and righteousness and make him happy. By faith, Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith. So Noah, he was making this ark off of it not even raining there. So now it's like, it doesn't even rain here, and now I'm preparing for a flood. So he's building this ark. He's probably getting mocked. The people are probably murmuring, but it's like, I know what my God said. I believe in him. I know that what he said will come to pass because he's a keeper of his word, and I will continue to build this ark. And through that, he not only saved him and his family, but he preserved righteousness. By faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed, and he went out not knowing whither he went. By faith, he sojourned in the land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. Abraham did not know where he was going. He had to leave his country, his family, everything that he has known for a destiny that people has never seen before, that was uncertain. But yet he walked, he stayed on his journey, he dwelt in tents. And for that, he, like I said, he received abundance. His whole lineage and his whole story is the foundations of Israel, is the foundations of our people. And without him walking in faith, without him having this mindset of an eternal life, of the promise ahead, of everything that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob had in store, we would not be where we are today, simply put. Verse 10, it said, "For he looked for a city which had foundations, whose builder and maker is God. Through faith also Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed, and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised. Therefore sprang there even one, and him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky in multitude, and as the sand which is by the sea shore innumerable." So Sarah was barren for 90 years. And when she was told she was going to be able to have a son, she laughed. She actually did not have faith. She didn't believe. But once she accepted it and she believed, her womb was renewed. Her womb was able to regain new life. So once again, it even shows us a mini lesson within itself that, like I said, you don't have to be perfect. Even if you haven't had faith for all these years, it's not too late now to say, you know what? I'm going to fix my focus. I'm going to correct my mindset. I'm going to walk in righteousness. I'm going to tune out the noise. I'm going to buckle down. I'm not going to let my hour of temptation have dominion over me. I'm not going to be tempted to leave or to abort the mission or to look for new leadership. But I'm going to hold steady and trust in God and God alone. Trust in the altar. Trust in what He has put in place and in store for us. So when she finally accepted it and believed, even though she didn't believe from the beginning, boom, her womb was restored, it was renewed, and righteousness once again came out of her. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. But now they desire a better country, that is an heavenly. Wherefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he hath prepared for them a city. By faith, Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac, that he that had received the promises offered up his only begotten son. So, like I said, he was ready to give up even his most prized possession, even something so near and dear to him for the sake of the bigger picture. So sometimes we get caught up in everyday emotions that completely we lose sight. We lose sight of everything that's in store for us, everything that's waiting for us. But it's like he was willing to lay it all out in store for the bigger picture. So if you can't put your emotions aside, how do you think you're making it to eternal life and to the promised land and to a new Jerusalem? If your emotions are getting in the way and it's enough, it's heavy enough for you to leave. It's heavy enough for you to look for new leadership. It's heavy enough for you to murmur. But he was willing to give his only son in just blind and unshakable faith and spirit. Not, I wouldn't even say blind, because it was spiritual confidence, because he believed that, you know what, even if this happens, like I said, the God of Israel doesn't want us to suffer. He doesn't want us to just be desolate and despair and have nothing. Like, you know, even if this happens, there'll be something. Either maybe he thought, like, you know, he'll resurrect Isaac from the dead. He'll do, like, something will happen that my God would not do this to me. So I will carry out the tasks, but I know that this trial is but a season. So let me win this trial so that I may reap the rewards in the end. Verse 19, accounting that God was able to raise him up even from the dead, from whence also he received him in a figure. By faith, Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come. By faith, Jacob, when he was a dying, blessed both the sons of Joseph and worshipped, leaning upon the top of his staff. By faith, Joseph, when he died, made mention of the departing of the children of Israel and gave commandment concerning his bones. By faith, Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents, because they saw he was a proper child, and they were not afraid of the king's commandment. By faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. So he had the privilege, the royal privilege. You could say that that was his family, because he was raised in the fashion of the Egyptian family, of Pharaoh's family. But he said, you know what? I actually choose to suffer with my people. I'm going to go to the wilderness. And you know what? When he came back through the obedience and the instructions of the God of Israel, and back into his, basically his own land, obviously not by spirituality, but through him just being raised there. He went back into his land, which was Egypt, and had to deal with the people murmuring, had to deal with the people against him, had to deal with opinions of others. But he went forth and he was able to deliver our people, so that we might, even if it's just Caleb and Joshua, so we might be able to be delivered and see a promised land. By faith he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured as seeing him who is invisible. Through faith he kept the Passover and the sprinkling of blood, lest he that destroyed the firstborn should touch them. By faith they passed through the Red Sea as by dry land, which the Egyptians, essaying to do, were drowned. By faith the walls of Jericho fell down after they were compassed about 7 days. So even when we look at the story of Jericho, Joshua was given instructions like walk around the wall for 6 days, and on the seventh day do a loud shout, and I'm guaranteeing that you will achieve and conquer that battle. And it might, once again, it might seem far-fetched to what meets the eye, but he marched on. He followed the commandments of the God of Israel. He was obedient. And through that, without a weapon, without armies having to battle and fight, the wall, the fortified wall, came crumbling down. And that was through and only through faith and being led in the Spirit. So, verse 31, by faith the harlot Rahab perished not with them that believed not, when she had received the spies with peace. And what shall I more say? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon and of Barak and of Samson and of Jephthah, of David also, and Samuel and of the prophets. So even when we talk about Rahab, she was in the land of Canaan, she was a prostitute, but she hid the Israelite spies. And she also declared the true and living God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And through that, she was able to be grafted in. Through that, all her generational curses and everything that she came from was wiped clean, even to be of the lineage, I think it said, of Jesus Christ. Like Rahab was able to completely do a 180 and be grafted into a holy family, a holy kingdom, through having faith and through having internal belief, through working for God's people and with God's people, and of declaring the glory of God, the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob, because he is worthy to be praised. So when we look at, I think I'm going to skip the last few verses there and just kind of give briefly what it's talking about. But when it talks about Gideon and Barak and Samson and Jephthah, David, Samuel, they were judges, they were kings, they were prophets who led Israel in the times of war and in the times of confusion. And their faith did not mean that they were perfect, but they trusted in God even when it mattered most, against overwhelming odds most times. And each of these men preserved Israel, protected the covenant, and fought forward. The same courage is required today to fight for truth, to fight for righteousness and the next generation. And it ends off that scripture even through talking about how the mighty men and women walked by faith, but they did not receive the final promise. So we know that, and there is still work to be done, but we need to develop this milk and honey mindset so that we can eliminate that fear and walk in purpose and walk in truth and walk led only by the true Spirit. So even though you fear, you can't let that guide you. But you have to have truth and go out and get it and conquer and multiply and give it right back to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob's kingdom. And even on a personal note, I've said this a few times, I believe, in my lessons, like, what would you do if you knew that you couldn't fail? What would you try and achieve if you believed that your God had you? Who would you become if you knew that the greatest God just had your back? And it's like, if you truly believe that, then we would be able to conquer the world and in his name and give back unto his kingdom. And I spoke about this, as my brethren here know intimately, on Feast of Dedication. But for a year now, because I graduated a year early, I've been thinking about my forward steps in my education. I've been thinking about law school. I've been thinking about trying to get in maybe a job into a law firm and just seeing where life takes me. And it was a lot of opportunities in that year, but nothing necessarily bearing fruits. It was a lot of networking, but feeling like it's not really going places. Everybody would be like, okay, like, let me know when you get to law school. Let me know when you graduate. Let me know when this, let me know. So it's like nothing's happening for right now, which is what I needed. Like, I need something to happen now, not when I get into law school or when I graduate. Things need to be moving and shaking now. And if people in cyberspace and people here, if you're ambitious, you know what I mean. But if there's a year that you're not accomplishing your goals, you're not doing a million things to progress everything that you have in store in your mind to achieve, it feels like hell. It feels like hell. It feels like you're a bum. It feels like you're stagnant and you're not growing. It's an awful feeling to have when you're a go-getter, that you know what, I'm feeling stagnant, I'm feeling like nothing is coming through for me. And through that time, I was putting my spirituality first. I still, was coming to the nation and putting a smile on my face and not letting everyone see, when you're down, but you still continue to give glory to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I'm asking Elder, to go to the altar and, put your prayers in. You're still continuing to do the work, still continuing to network. But still, like I said, in that year span of doing all that work, of putting my spirituality first, it's like no fruits were coming from that. But I can say, as of last week, it's 100% confirmed that I will be going to the UK to do my law school degree. Thank you. Thank you. I will be starting in September, and it will be a 2-year program. And just a little bit of backstory, even on that, even just the mindset to go and do that, leading up until the time, I believe it was like a month ago, I started having thoughts on, okay, like what other ways can I get to my destination right now? Because if I apply for law school down here in Canada, the earliest that I can be considered to get accepted for is for next September, because it's kind of on that like rolling basis in terms of acceptance. And then the following summer, if you get denied, then you have to reapply, and then it's for another year and another year and another year. So there wasn't anything set in stone of what I could do. And the earliest, if everything went according to plan, was next September. But like I said, those who are ambitious, those who are go-getters, you know what I'm talking about. A year is another long time of what feels like hell on earth, to not be accomplishing everything that you feel that you could be doing. So to me, that wasn't an option to take another year off. I really wanted to start in September. I really just wanted to get the ball rolling, but I needed to figure out a way that I can do so. And to think about doing it in the UK, I kind of applied and did all the logistics in terms of like the visa and everything, kind of on a whim of like, this is not going to work out. This is not going to come back positive. I'm not actually going to go. Like, this is just to try a thing. And then I believe it was on a new moon, I opened up my email and 6 schools from the UK accepted me. All my online programs accepted me. And it was an email of abundance. And I remember when I saw that in that moment, I was like, oh, shoots, it could actually be a reality. So now what do I do? Because to me, relocating was also not an option. But it's like that's what I had, and that's where what came in on New Moon. And I was kind of seeing the signs of, Tamar, this is something that you should take. Tamar, this is what you have in your hands now. Don't give that away for something that's uncertain. Tomorrow, there's people that want you, and schools that are saying, okay, you don't have to do your LSAT, come right now, we'll take you for this September, just get here. You have people that are actively wanting you to start in September like you had wanted. These are all the prayers that you've been praying for the past year of me saying that nothing is coming through for me. Things were in the works. And basically at that point, it's like, do I think that I could relocate, let alone to a country that I've never visited before, for 2 years? I don't even think I've never even done a solo trip. And now it's like the next time I'll be able to see everyone is April, like it's Passover. So it was kind of just hard to even fathom. And I was kind of like, I told my parents, I'm like, I'm looking for a sign not to go. I'm looking for people to be like, you should stay here. This is not what's going to happen. But once again, I prayed about it. I put my spirituality first, remembered my training. I have great advisors, my parents saying, you know what? If you're thinking about a spiritual decision, there's no better person to talk to than our elder Shadrach. and I was able to talk to my elder about it. And to be honest, I was kind of happy when they proposed to talk to elder, because I'm like, oh, elder's gonna tell me I definitely can't leave, so it's good. Like he'll just, like I won't even have to be considering this. So I'm definitely gonna talk to elder, because then I won't have to go to the UK. I spoke to elder and he was jumping for joy. He was like, this is amazing. He was telling me to get on the plane now. He was like, oh my God, becoming a lawyer, if everybody wants you, new moon, like what is there to think about? Like, this is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob pulling a big one for you. You're basically an idiot to turn this down. And just, you're so privileged that even where you're going, there's a branch there. It might not be local because I am going to Leicester, so it's not London. But it's like if I need that spiritual connection, if I need to plug in, it's like you have access to that. And even I have my great branch here that I know will be putting in prayers for me. I have my parents that I know will be going to the altar and putting in a good word for me. I have my elder and council who will be rooting for me. So it's like I will not be far from the altar. I won't be far from my God. And when you put your spirituality first, like how we spoke about Abraham and giving up his only son, he was doing that blindly because he's like, well, once again, not blindly, but spiritually, with spiritual confidence, because he just believed that, you know what, like some way, somehow, even though this is an impossible situation, some way, somehow it's going to work out. And I feel like right now, it's like that for me right now. It's like I'll go there, I'll touch down, I'll figure it out because my God's got me. Once you put your spirituality first, you're not really going in anywhere blindly. I know there's already saints and people, eyes around, ears around, boots on the ground, already paving the way. Like the God of Israel said, okay, tomorrow prayed about this. All right, there's men here doing this. There's men here doing that. They're fixing up the city for me. That I won't just be in a country alone and by myself and figuring out everything with me and me alone. Because I'm not an island by myself, but all of us are interconnected, especially with our spirituality, to make big things happen for ourselves and for this nation. So I'm really pleased and I'm really thankful. Even though I've been telling everybody, I'm like, this is a nightmare. I would never want to go to the UK. I would never want to go there and live. I don't want to leave my parents for this long. It's going to be a culture shock. What am I going to do? I'm going to cry for the first 5 months straight. Like I've been telling everybody, like, this is my personal nightmare. But when I really look at it and everything that has been paved for me and the opportunities that I'm able to have, and also it's in half of the time that I would have taken to do my education down here. So it is an accelerated program. So I do get it done twice as fast. Um, so everything that's set up and paid for me, it really is a blessing and a testament. So sometimes I have to like snap myself out of being depressed and hating and like, oh my God, am I really leaving? Am I really going? And being like, you know what? This is an amazing opportunity. It is from my God. I am grateful. I am thankful. I'm kind of trying to look at it through a positive light. Um, and just, yeah, and just giving glory to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And like I said, once you have these talents and you go out and you get things and you try, and like I said, right now it's not blindly, but it's through spiritual confidence that I'm going to take the talents that he's given me so that I can say, hey, Lord, you gave me this, that, and the third. Look at who I became. Look at what I did. Look at all the risks that I took because I knew that you had me. Look at what, like, even if you're not perfect, if you try, if you invest, if you multiply your portion, he is happy with that. So even to say that I could be an example of that, I can be an example of everything that he wants his flock to be doing is taking these leaps and bounds in his name. And when I get this degree, not if, but when I get this degree, because my God has me, yeah, I'll be sure to figure out a way that it can benefit, like I said, not the Jacobite community, not the world, but in a way that that degree can multiply our kingdom and impact the Israelites, impact this nation. So, God of Israel willing, everything, like I said, everything will fall into place. He'll never guide you to despair. He'll never guide you to fall on your face. So I just can, continue to pray and let my spirituality guide me and lead me and to be that example. Because even if you're talking to the people about having unshakable faith, then you have to walk the walk so you can talk the talk. If you're talking to people about, following the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob with everything that you have, what seems, even though what's ahead seems frightening and might seem like, oh my gosh, I could never. It's like I'm telling everyone else to do that. I have to walk in the same fashion. So I'm pleased that I can say that I do so. I'm pleased that I can say that I've always done so in terms of, I'm gonna do this goal, but I know that I'll just get it done because the God of Israel has me. Oh, I'm gonna do my 3-year program at university, even though they don't offer a 3-year program. I just makeshifted that, and everybody's like, "How are you gonna double the course load and make your own program?" I was like, "I don't know, but it's gonna get done. The God of Israel has me. How am I gonna go and accomplish law school on an island by myself? Like I don't know, but the God of Israel has me. So at this point, I'm just letting him quicken my feet to accomplish great things. And I'm happy to be doing everything in his name. I'm happy for all the opportunities that I have been given. And yeah, I hope I'm an inspiration, not only because sometimes I inspire myself, like, okay, I'm a real go-getter. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like I should be doing more. But I hope even to like the next generations, they can say, okay, you know what? Like Tamar had a 21-year-old virgin feast. Like I want to do the same. Every accomplishment that Tamar has, she does a giving thanks feast to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Everything that Tamar does, she puts her spirituality at the forefront. Tamar just thinks that she can accomplish anything and do anything and basically just walks without really thinking things through because the God of Israel has her. So I want to do the same. So even if it's a bridge unto the future generations to even exercise their faith with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, I'm happy to do so. So I'll say don't sit on your talents. Get what you need to get and give it a hell of a try and figure out a way that once again it can benefit our community, our Israelite community, and his kingdom. And stop waiting for the evidence, because one, it's all throughout this Bible, it is all throughout this book. But even if we're talking about post 40 years, and I talk about wanting to multiply and be fruitful and all the promises that is coming unto us, when we speak about that, then we have to know to quicken our feet to righteousness. When we talk about that, we need to stop waiting and looking even into the evidence that's here, because now it needs to be in our inward parts that he's done so much for our forefathers. We now know it. But now we have to become the evidence in our own lives. Like I said, he's done this for me before. I know he'll do this again. So everyone has to now think that way too. Like, beyond our forefathers, what has he done for you? What trials and tribulations has he helped you get out of, that now you are your own personal evidence? So live through faith and multiply, and don't remain slothful and wicked. um Milk and honey, once again, was always promised. So now it is time to walk boldly, build faithfully, and lead spiritually. So before I leave this podium, I'll tell you guys to ask yourselves, what thoughts have I been entertaining that come from fear? Where have I delayed obedience because of what I see with my eyes? What part of the promise am I preparing to possess through faith? Am I using my talents? Am I giving back unto my God? Or am I burying those talents so that they may be revoked and given to another? Am I embracing a potential testimony or staying where I am comfortable? Because it's time to conquer the world in the name of our God, and it's time to set our spirit to be promised land bound. And we can only do that with the milk and honey mindset. So that one day you may be counted among those who enter the land of milk and honey and eternal rest, not just the physical, but the spiritual kingdom prepared before the foundation of the world. So, with that, Rachel will be continuing on next, and I'm so happy to call her up because I know that this is a topic that was near and dear to her. So bear with us, and I hope you guys are really, really enjoying today's message. Peace.
I will praise thee, O Lord, with my whole heart. I will show forth all thy marvelous works. I will be glad and rejoice in thee. I will sing praise to thy name, O Most High. When mine enemies are turned back They shall fall and perish at thy presence. For thou hast maintained my right and my cause. Thou sattest in the throne, judging right. Thou hast rebuked the heathen. Thou hast destroyed the wicked. Thou hast put out their name forever. O thou enemy, destructions are come to a perpetual end, and thou hast destroyed cities. Their memorial is perished with them, but the Lord shall endure forever. He hath prepared his throne for judgment, and he shall judge the world in righteousness. He shall minister judgment to the people in uprightness. The Lord also will be a refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble. And they that know thy name will put their trust in thee. For thou, Lord, hast not forsaken them that seek thee. Sing praises to the Lord, which dwelleth in Zion. Declare among the people his doings. When he maketh inquisition for blood, he remembereth them. He forgetteth not the cry of the humble. Have mercy upon me, O Lord. Consider my trouble, which I suffer of them that hate me. Thou that liftest me up from the gates of death, that I may show forth all thy praise in the gates of the daughter of Zion. I will rejoice in thy salvation. The heathen are sunk down in the pit that they made. In the net which they hid is their own foot taken. The Lord is known by the judgment which he executeth. The wicked is snared in the work of his own hands. Higgaion Selah. The wicked shall be turned into hell, and all the nations that forget God. For the needy shall not always be forgotten. The expectation of the poor shall not perish forever. Arise, O Lord, let not man prevail. Let the heathen be judged in thy sight. Put them in fear, O Lord, that the nations may know themselves to be but men. Selah. Peace, brethren. It's good to be in the TO. Had a rough morning this morning, but we're here, we're alive, we're well. And I will say, the Psalms always bring me such great comfort. And when I read Psalm 9, it's a remembrance that no matter how stuck you may feel, no matter how unseen or uncertain you may think you are, that our God will not forsake thee. If we trust in him, if we seek after him, our soul thirsting after him, he will take care of us. But we must not forget him, and we must put him first. There are two things that I want you to remember today. The first one is that sometimes with great loss comes even better gains. And the second one is a man can survive, but with the spirit, you can thrive. The flesh can survive, but with the spirit, we can thrive. And as my sister Tamar, teacher Tamar, wonderfully said, we have to hold on to this mindset if we want to keep our milk and honey, our blessings that were promised to us. Because to acquire abundance, it's not going to be an easy path, y'all. It's not. Growing up, my dad would always remind me that even in prison, God was with Joseph. And I feel like that's hard for us to really marinate on, because when we think we have the God of Israel on our side, everything's going to go perfect. We're going to live in palaces and be big. But the road there can be trying. Joseph's own brothers betrayed him. He was sold into slavery, deepest parts of the pit, but he turned his loss into legacy. He went from the prison to the palace because he feared our God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, more than he feared his circumstances. Israel We must increase our appetite for fear in order to taste that sweet inheritance of the milk and that rich, soulful favor of the honey. And today I'm going to walk you through how to do that. So I ask you to turn to Isaiah 54 for me. We're going to start here. This is a scripture that is near and dear to my heart because, as I mentioned, when you're going through those tough times, when you feel like no one can see you, this is a reminder that the God of Israel is always with you. So we're going to go to Isaiah 54 here. All right. Sing, O barren, thou that didst not bear. Break forth into singing and cry aloud, thou that didst not travail with child. For more are the children of the desolate than the children of the married wife, saith the Lord. The God of Israel has a special place in his heart for the underdog. Joseph, Samuel, Samson, all of their mothers were barren. And when you start off from the bottom, you have great appreciation for what is blessed. Remember that, okay? Because if we're going to increase our appetite for fear, we have to remember our why. Verse 2. Enlarge the place of thy tent, and let them stretch forth the curtains of thine habitations. Spare not, lengthen thine cords, and strengthen thy stakes. For thou shalt break forth on the right hand and on the left, and thy seed shall inherit the Gentiles and make the desolate cities to be inhabited. I think about my foremother, Naomi. She called herself Mara. Her husband was gone, her sons, but through her lineage came a king. Through her lineage, the vessel that was born to hold the Christ was there. Prepare for your blessing that's coming. You got to hold space. Enlarge that tent, Israel. Verse 3. Verse 4. Fear not, for thou shalt not be ashamed, neither thou confounded. For thou shalt not be put to shame, for thou shalt forget the shame of thy youth, and shall not remember the reproach of thy widowhood anymore. Fear not. Again, the path to abundance isn't going to be easy. Teacher Tamar talked about Joseph and Caleb, Joshua and Caleb, sorry. And what did the God of Israel say to them? He said to fear not, because the task at hand is going to be scary sometimes, but we have to eat that fear. We have to remember our why so we can hold on to our milk and honey. For thy maker is thine husband, the Lord of hosts is his name, and thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel, the God of the whole earth shall he be called. Surrender. If the God of Israel is your husband, a relationship has to be formed. He's going to take care of you. He's our daddy. The scriptures talk about the widow. We're literally talking about the widow here. He has a soft spot for the fatherless. Let him be your father. Let him be your provider. For the Lord hath called thee as a woman forsaken and grieved in spirit, and a wife of youth when thou wast refused, saith the God. For a small moment have I forsaken thee, but with great mercies will I gather thee. His promise, the inheritance, remember it. He will not forsake you, Auntie Pansy. He will gather his mercies for you, Bathsheba. Trust in him. In a little wrath I hid my face from thee for a moment, but with everlasting kindness will I have mercy on thee, saith the Lord thy Redeemer. For this is as the waters of Noah unto me. For as I have sworn that the waters of Noah should no more go over the earth, so have I sworn that I would not be wroth with thee, nor rebuke thee. For the mountains shall depart, and the hills shall be removed, but my kindness shall not depart from me, neither shall the covenant of my peace be removed, saith the Lord that have mercy on thee. Look where we started. Desolate, without children, but he's showing us the vision. See your vision. Remember why you came to this nation. Hold on to what makes you believe in the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. Because when it gets low, you have to remember. You have to remember. O thou afflicted, tossed with tempest and not comforted. I know you guys have felt that before when life is just lifing and nothing can give you comfort. People are saying it's going to be all right. How do you know it's all right? I always joke with my sister. I'm like, she's always nervous to comfort me because I tell her she gives me Disney Channel things like, everything's going to be all right. It's going to be, how do you know? How do you know? This could be my Job era. Like, I'm someone that needs firm. Like, girl, do you know who you are? Like, you have to yell at me to get me there. But in those times where you are not comforted, I want you to remember this. Verse 11. Behold, I will lay thy stones with fair colors, and lay thy foundations with sapphires. And I will make thy windows of agates, and thy gates of carbuncles, and all thy borders of pleasant stones. And all thy children shall be taught of the Lord, and great shall be the peace of thy children. Israel, we have come a long way. And it's because of our obedience, the obedience of our master teacher, Elder Shadrach, that we are here, that we can see these scriptures come to life. We have a history where we were desolate, where our families were torn from us. But today we thrive. 40 years in this nation. We're grown now. We were babies before, but we're grown. We have to act like it. We have to act like he's laid our foundations with sapphires because we are the royal priesthood. Verse 14. In righteousness shalt thou be established. Thou shalt be far from oppression. For thou shalt not fear, and from terror, for it shall not come near. Behold, they shall surely gather together, but not by me. Whosoever shall gather together against thee shall fall for thy sake. Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and bringeth forth an instrument from his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord. This is your heritage, Israel. This is your heritage. And he will watch out for you. I promise you he will. I promise you he will. So as I mentioned, the first step to increasing your appetite for fear is going to be to remember your why. But I also want us to get into the mindset that fear is a signal for expansion. Sometimes you're going to be scared because it requires you to step into who you are, and you've never been who you are to be. So let's explore what this process looks like. And I'm going to ask you to turn to Genesis chapter 37. We're going to talk a little bit about Joseph. We're going to start from Genesis 37, verse 1 to 4. And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. Again, sometimes we go through great losses for even better gains. Joseph was a young boy feeding his father's flock. How was he going to get into the palace? How was he going to get to be Pharaoh's right hand? He had to go through those trials and tribulations, because that's honestly what shapes us. That's what makes us stronger. I'm going to jump to Genesis 39 so that we can see what this process looks realized. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, brought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which he had brought him down thither. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. So we all know the story of Joseph, right? His brothers betrayed them. He was in the pit, had nothing. And yet the God of Israel was with him. The man can survive, but with the Spirit, he was able to thrive. And not only was he prosperous, but the man that took him in prospered as well. During the 40th year, Elder Andel made the point that we have to believe that we can change the world. And to be honest, sometimes that is hard to believe that little old us can do that. But we've seen it. Nations are blessed when they help us out. Even in my own journey in Israel, I stand before thee today as a product of my environment. I didn't grow up publicly speaking all the time or wanting to be in front of the camera. I was actually a really shy girl growing up. And I remember whenever I would have speeches to do, Elder probably knows this, my dad would drill me in. He is a tough lover kind of guy, okay? I used to cry. I used to look at my mom and ask her, can you help me escape? My dad, it would be late into the night, tired, sleepy, drill me in until that speech was perfect. But it's because of that and because of that push outside of my comfort zone that I'm able to have the opportunity to even be able to stand here today. And I say that because I want you to remember that the God of Israel loves the underdog. David was small. His brothers were looking at him like he was crazy when he wanted to fight Goliath. So if you think that you don't have what it takes, I promise you, you're probably the best person the God of Israel wants to choose. He loves humility. He loves to see that growth. And he loves it when the odds are stacked up against us because it allows him to prove his might even more. And we see that with Joseph's journey. But let's continue. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. How many times have people told you, there's something different about you? What are you? You just have a special light about you. People can see it. They can see when you choose to walk in this doctrine because you're set apart. They can see the blessings that are in store for you. And unfortunately, sometimes they can see it even more than ourselves. Verse 4. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had he put into his hands. So again, you see that elevation, right? And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake. And the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. Again, you prioritize the spirit, you simplify success, man. I see this in my life so many times. When you prioritize the spirit, you simplify success. Part of the reason why I'm able to stand before you today is because the God of Israel answered my prayers. Had a long time at work, and I really wanted to be here this week for the Feast of Dedication. And it, of course, happens that the week before we were going to travel here, that one of my coworkers just quit. She didn't put in her 2-week notice or nothing, and her whole caseload was put onto me. And when I tell you, I started working long hours, my wrists were locking up. I was getting carpal tunnel, I think. My sister was like, I haven't seen you in forever. When are we going to hang? We live in the same house. And I was like, girl, you're not going to see me until the ride to Toronto. Like, I don't know. We're not going to hang out because I'm buried. So I'm crying to the God of Israel. I'm pleading because I'm like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to be present and enjoy this time. And I'm like, God of Israel, please take this off my plate. Like, somehow figure it out and we'll figure something out. Whatever you want to do. Tell me why the weekend of the 40th year, my manager asked me, how are things going? And I tell him, I'm honest, like, things are going. I will say, like, this new caseload has been a little bit overwhelming, but I'm pushing through. Like, I'm glad for this opportunity to grow. My manager replies and he says, you know what? Your caseload with these other two products that you've been doing is just fine. One of our colleagues has just come back from parental leave. We're going to have him put into the rotation and you can just be his backup. You're good to go. You're fine. Like, he answers your prayers exactly, exactly, exactly. But if you do not open up your mouth, if you do not ask your Father, if you do not seek after him, you will not receive that message. You will not receive that insight. And when I tell you, when you're going through your trials and tribulations, being in Israel is such a blessing. It truly is. I remember when I was going through my struggle, probably about a year before I became teacher, it was one of the hardest years of my life. And I remember on those low days, it was so hard to come to service. Ooh, I'm getting a little emotional, which I don't like to do, but I want to be honest with you guys and share my story. I remember Elder Denise would look at me and she'd be like, "Are you okay?" And I'd be like, crying in the corner, trying to come to service. And I'll be honest with you, there were days where I woke up and I didn't want to come, but when I did, the messages, the things that people would say, it just touched me in my heart. And it was exactly what I needed to hear in that moment. Our God is truly the greatest. He really is. But let's move forward with Joseph's story. Let's continue on. I've lost my place just a little bit, but that's fine. Maybe we can skip down here. So we're in chapter 39. I'm going to go to verse 7. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph and said, "Lie with me." But he refused and said unto his master's wife, "Behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in thy house, and he hath committed all that he hath to my hand. There was none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" We have to be a people of principle, Israel. We have to know our values, because when the going gets rough, we have to know that we can walk in integrity and follow in alignment with our God. Verse 11. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, "Lie with me." And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. And it came to pass, when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth, that she called unto the men of her house and spake unto them, saying, "See, he hath brought in an Hebrew unto us to mock us. He came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice." Again, those trials. Joseph just got out of the pit, y'all. Things were going good. And now his master's wife has to go throw a wrench into the prosperity. And unfortunately, she succeeded. But let's see what happens later on. Verse 20, I'm going to skip down. And Joseph's master took him and put him into the prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound, and he was there in prison. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison. And whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. The keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him, and that which he did, the Lord made it to prosper. Again, a man can survive, but with the Spirit you thrive. And sometimes you have to lose things to make space for what greatness is in store for you. So we've gone over two things now when we talk about increasing our appetite for fear. Number one, you want to keep that vision strong, right? See what that milk and honey is for you. What are those blessings that you want to see? Do you want to see your grandchildren be able to go to their God and cry into him before the temple? What is your legacy going to be? Hold on to that vision. And number two, see fear as a signal for expansion. You have to be molded sometimes into who you're meant to be. So when you get afraid, lock in and get ready to expand. The third thing that I want to touch on is your support system. Because as Elder says, Israel is not one man. We are not an island on our own. You cannot find peace and healing in isolation, because a large part of healing is going to be through your interactions, through your day-to-day. So let's talk about what that means, having a strong support system. We're going to go to 1 Samuel chapter 19. I love the story of David. I've been reflecting on it a lot because, I don't know, I feel like it didn't really hit me how much of his process and journey to becoming a king was rooted in trials and tribulations. Like the day he became king, Saul was dead, Jonathan was dead, and then he had to take on this new role. So I greatly admire him for resilience. And we're going to see part of his journey now with 1 Samuel 19. And Saul spake to Jonathan his son and to all his servants that they should kill David. But Jonathan, Saul's son, delighted much in David. And Jonathan told David, saying, Saul, my father, seeketh to kill thee. Now therefore I pray thee, take heed to thyself unto the morning, and abide in a secret place, and hide thyself. David went through a lot. When you read the Psalms, again, he was literally fearing for his life, Israel. His own brethren too. That's when it hurts, but that's when it's real. It hurts the most when it comes from your own brethren. But we have to be able to be like Caleb and have a different spirit and to see the bigger picture. And you see that Jonathan's relationship with David allowed him to do what was right and support him, even against his own father. This is families we're talking about. Let's be real, families. I know a lot of us go through trials and tribulations with our own family, and yet we stay the course and we're here because we see the bigger picture. We want that land flowing with milk and honey, but it's helpful to have that support system, and you see that in Jonathan here. Verse 3. And I will go out and stand beside my father in the field where thou art, and I will commune with my father of thee in what I see, and I will tell thee. Again, on the other side, helping his brother out. And Jonathan spake good of David unto Saul his father, and said unto him, Let not the king sin against his servant, against David, because he hath not sinned against thee, and because his works have been to thee very good. For he did put his life in his hand, and slew the Philistine. And the Lord wrought a great salvation for all Israel. Thou sawest and didst rejoice. Wherefore then wilt thou sin against innocent blood to slay David without cause? Who's going to be your voice of reason? Because we're flesh. We feel things. We cry. We go through emotions. But who is going to be around you to make sure that you can make the right decision and see clearly? Verse 5, I believe. 6, thank you. And Saul hearkened unto the voice of Jonathan. And Saul sware, As the Lord liveth, he shall not be slain. And Jonathan called David, and Jonathan showed him all those things. And Jonathan brought David to Saul, and he was in his presence as in times past. And there was war again, and David went out and fought with the Philistines, and slew them with a great slaughter, and they fled from him. And the evil spirit from the Lord was upon Saul, as he sat in his house with his javelin in his hand, and David played with his hand. So again, Jonathan was able to pierce through Saul, but he had an evil spirit upon him. We know Saul's story, right? He made a lot of mistakes, which I believe are very human, right? He would get in his head and think logically instead of trusting the word of our Father. And you can see how that led to his downfall. We must stay strong, Israel. There's a quote that says, "You know where you will be in 5 years by looking at the people around you." Who is around you? Where are they going? Are you headed in the right direction? Do you have to shed off some weight and welcome new ones that will get you to where you need to go? I want you to ask yourself that. And again, we're going to see more help with David. Verse 11. Saul also sent messengers unto David's house to watch him and to slay him in the morning. And Michal, David's wife, told him, saying, If thou save not thy life tonight, tomorrow thou shalt be slain. So Michal let David down through a window, and he went and fled and escaped. And Michal took an image and laid it in the bed, and put a pillow of goat's hair for his bolster, and covered it with a cloth. And when Saul sent messengers to take David, she said, He is sick. So again, people coming to his rescue. And again, it's family affairs. Saul was Michal's daughter, right? But again, they saw the bigger picture from there. And I want to talk about what this bigger picture is from us, because we have to remember that we are anointed. We are an anointed people, and we must walk into it. So I'm going to take you to my favorite scripture, which is 1 Peter 2. I'm going to talk about what it means to be anointed and to have this milk and honey mindset. 1 Peter 2. I'm going to start from verse 1. Wherefore, laying aside all malice and all guile and hypocrisies and envies and all evil speakings, as newborn babes, desire the sincere milk of the word, that ye may grow thereby. We always talk about how there's some old wine, right? We live in this world, but we're not of it. So we need to be in the mindset of being like new babes, sucking on the milk of our inheritance, thirsting after our God, as Psalm 63 says. And again, 1 Peter chapter 2, it's just a great guideline for how to live your life. But let's continue down. Verse 3. If so, be ye have tasted that the Lord is gracious. That milk and honey, remember, the Lord is gracious, to whom coming as unto a living stone, disallowed even of men, but chosen of God and precious. Ye also, as lively stones, are built up a spiritual house and holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God by Jesus Christ. This is who we are. This is who we are. The world has told us for so long that we are dirt, that we are poor. But what did we read in Isaiah 54? The widowed, those that were barren will be blessed. Remember that you are blessed and walk as the royal priesthood, Israel. Verse 6. Wherefore also it is contained in the scripture, Behold, I lay Zion, a chief cornerstone, an elect, precious, and he that believeth on him shall not be confounded. You will not be confused. You will have clarity. But remember that you are precious and elect. Verse 7. Unto you therefore which believe he is precious, but unto them which be disobedient, the stone which the builders disallowed, The same is made the head of the corner, and a stone of stumbling, and a rock of offense, even to them which stumble at the word, being obedient, whereunto also they were appointed. The Spirit moves. It can stay with you and it can leave you. So, what are the ways that we cultivate that Spirit? It's going to be coming to new moons and services. It's going to be asking the God of Israel for guidance when we're unsure of ourselves. It's going to be through our brethren, which is a hard reminder for me, for those of you that might want to just take on things for yourself. No, I love speaking to my brethren because they know just the right things to say. They'll have dreams. They'll tell you, I've been thinking about you, even though they had no idea with what you were going through. And it allows you to stay the course. We need everything we can in our tool belt to prioritize the Spirit so that we may simplify success. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 7. Again, I want to hone in on this milk and honey mindset, right? Talked about how you surround yourself with the right people, increasing your appetite for fear. Let's remind ourselves of what is promised in Deuteronomy chapter 7. I'm going to start from verse 12. Wherefore it shall come to pass, if ye hearken to these judgments, and keep and do them, that the Lord thy God shall keep unto thee the covenant and the mercy which he sware unto thy fathers. And he will love thee, and bless thee, and multiply thee. He will also bless the fruit of thy womb, and the fruit of thy land, thy corn and thy wine and thine oil, the increase of thy kine, and the flocks of thy sheep, and the land which he sware unto thy fathers to give thee. Israel, you shall prosper. But we have to remember why we're here. And I don't know, we have a really intimate audience today. So I do want to hear from some people, what is the thing that keeps you? What was the thing that brought you to Israel? What are the things that you hold on to when you're going through those trials and tribulations? I want to hear. I heard family. Excellent, right? This is our bond, our support system. I always think about Passover. This 40th year was amazing. It was amazing to go through the timeline of how this nation was built and brought up. What else? What else keeps you here? There's someone in Cyberland that needs to hear it. Someone's holding on by a thread and they need to hear, what is it that can keep them here? The altar. Huge, especially with our feast of dedication, right? Our leadership was talking about, we take so much, we ask for so much, and I think the phrase was used that we juice the altar so much. So to be able to be blessed to have the opportunity to give back is amazing, especially in one accord and in unity. Absolutely, absolutely. And there's only one altar on this earth, so that is definitely something that will keep you here. I want one more. What keeps you here? The truth. The promise. Absolutely. Especially when you go out and you see the lie. The scriptures say, for you to lie and to lead these souls to hell, we are so blessed as a people to be here. And Elder Brian, am I going to hear from you? Or are you just fixing the mic?
Am I on? Oh, nice.
Yes.
Yes. So you said one altar, right?
Yes.
Against thousands, hundreds of thousands of altars,
Yes.
but one to the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob.
Amen.
One.
Amen.
So that's more than regular power, right? It's not worldly, right? It's from some place that you don't understand, So I just wanted to share just a little bit about how I came into Israel. It was through a guy by the name of Kingsley. And back in the day, I was, I'll just kind of speed it up. But anyways, back in the day, I was like a computer head, nerd, right? I had like computers all over the place. And one day, Kingsley was a boy that used to hang around with, we were kind of like B-boys. Anyways, he comes by my house one day, knocks on the door, and I'm looking and saying, "Hey, Kingsley, how you doing?" He's good. He comes in, we sit down, we chat, and then he pulls out a Bible. Thinking, this is kind of odd. What's he going to talk about? So he said, do you know who your God is? Do you know, I said, like, no. Right. And then, he kind of proceeded. He went in through Exodus and we talked a little bit. It was more like a debriefer. He was probably just telling me that whatever, how he was telling me, but that's how I came to Israel. But what I want to say is it's not like you're picked or, you're going to get a call from elder or somebody's going to call you and say, hey, by the way, come over to two. Like, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. It's very subtle and you don't know how it's working, but it's not of this world. Bottom line, it's not of this world. It's from someplace else, right? And that's the thing you got to remember. That's it. Peace.
We got some more. Elder Tyrone.
I don't know why everyone's laughing. 2008. Lots of things happened in 2008. But I will say this happened in 2007, where and this is to your lesson, by some miracle, thousands of miles away, because we use miles not kilometers, the truth, the lie, and the Bible suddenly ends up in my hand. Like out of all the people in the UK, all of the churches, people that were going to church, those that were seeking God, I wasn't seeking God at all, but I believed in the God. I just believed that there was a God. I was seeking to be the fastest man in the world. That's what I was seeking. And all of my attention was there. But the book landed in my hand through, this was 2007. 2007. Just a few months before 2008. And honestly, what binded me is because of the miracle that came from the book. And what came from the book was the pledge. Because there was an incident with my close family member, my uncle, that before I'd come to the nation, I believed in what Elder Shadrach had written in the truth, the lie, and the Bible. And I read the pledge and made a somewhat of a prayer, probably messed the prayer up completely, for my uncle. Wow. And when I saw my uncle lived and did not die, when he was surely to die, I did come to the nation in 2008 in January. From then onwards, and I stayed.
No, I thank you both for sharing those stories because it's just a reminder of our beginnings and that exciting feeling that you feel, and sometimes that fear that you feel when you know that God is present in your life and it's the true living God. And I love hearing testimonies and understanding what other brethren have been to because it encourages you, it increases your faith. And I can definitely see that in those stories. Absolutely, absolutely. I had a conversation, it's funny because Elder Sophie briefly mentioned it while Teacher Tamar did an awesome job on her lesson. But we were talking about, when there are trials and tribulations and your faith is being questioned, what are the actual strategies to keep you here? Because again, I told you, I can't do that Disney mess. I can't. I need you to be real with me. And she gave the advice of having a type of vision board, understanding what your why is and holding on to that. And I remember I was laughing with her because I told her that my vision board would be quite morbid because after going through the loss of my uncle, I know that there is no other nation that will ensure that your bones are taken care of, that will ensure that everything is done to a T to make sure that you have everlasting life and can be aligned with the God of Israel. I'm so thankful for the obedience of my priesthood and my leadership, because without it, I literally would not exist. Through Elder Shadrach, Elder Michael, and Auntie Denise, Elder Denise finding Atlanta, my uncle bringing my mom, who met my dad, who had me. They met at Feast of Tabernacle. I am literally a product of this nation and everything that has occurred. So I just implore you to remember the bigger picture. That's what we forget in those moments of emotion, that this is bigger than the individual. We have to be a little less me and more about our God. And that's hard when we can't see him. It is so hard when we can't see him. But we have to remember that there is more with us than there are with them. Elder Brian said there are so many altars out there, but there's one true living one. And we have to remember that and hold on to it. So with that said, I'm giving you all my favorite scriptures today. I want to go to Psalm 63 because this is the guideline that I use when I'm going through trials and tribulations. I actually remember, those of you might have heard this story before, but I remember in college, I was going through it and I was struggling. I flipped open the scriptures and I turned to Psalm 63. And I was in college, so I couldn't go back to New Moon service. So I remember I had my little service in my little dorm room that looked like a closet. I read Psalm 63. I picked up the phone, and a brethren was talking to me, and they were like, you know, I know you've been going through a lot. I think you should read Psalm 63. And so I hold this really dear to my heart. So let's turn there now. O God, thou art my God. Onus, he's our Father and no one else's. Remember that. He chose you. Early will I seek thee. My soul thirsteth for thee. It's like you're in a dry land and you've been there for days. That's how you have to chase after your God, our God. My flesh longeth for thee in a dry and thirsty land where no water is. Teacher Tamar said to starve the flesh so that the spirit may thrive. To see thy power and thy glory, so as I have seen thee in the sanctuary. We are blessed. So many people in the world have not been able to step foot into that little altar room. You are blessed to have seen it. Remember that. Because thy loving kindness is better than life, my lips shall praise thee. Thus will I bless thee, will I live. Again, we drew so much from the God of Israel. We have to remember to bless him back. Bless him back. Like Teacher Tamar said, don't bury your talents. Come out of hiding. Come out of hiding and do the work. Because as I told you, he loves a good underdog. I will lift up my hands in thy name. My soul shall be satisfied as with marrow and fatness. Anyone that's had lamb, that Passover lamb, the marrow is my favorite part. It's so good. You have to be careful so you don't break the bones. And my mouth shall praise thee with joyful lips. Let me tell you one thing. People love gratitude. Even as a parent, man, when your children show gratitude for the things that you give them, you want to give them even more. Remember that no matter what you're going through. Be grateful. It's attractive. Verse 6. When I remember thee upon my bed and meditate on thee in the night watches. Again, we're doing this from morning until evening. Our mind is thinking about our God. We're praising him. We're seeking after him. because thou hast been my help. Therefore, in the shadow of thy wings will I rejoice thee. Remember, Israel, what he's did for you. I'm a big proponent of journaling because whenever I flip back to those journals from 5 years, I'm like, oh my God, he did this. Why am I scared? Why am I playing small? Stop acting like you ugly and you got nothing on, okay? You're the royal priesthood, all right? My soul followeth hard after thee. Thy right hand upholdeth me. It's like you're a child and he's the father and you're just like, please hold my hand and guide my way. Just want to be guided. Why am I figure things out for myself when the creator of heaven and earth can guide me through? But those that seek my soul to destroy it shall go into the lower parts of the earth. Vengeance is the Lord's. May the arrows that they throw at you be returned into themselves, Israel. They shall fall by the sword. They shall be a portion for foxes. Tear it up. Tear it up. Ain't nobody can play about you. Can anyone play about your children? Your nieces? Anyone that comes from my family, you're going to see another side of me, trust, okay? But the king shall rejoice in God. Everyone that sweareth by him shall glory, but the mouth of them that speak lies shall be stopped. What I love about our culture is from big to small, no matter what your role may be, we all become humble before God. And it's important for us to remember that humility, for our Father loves humility. And it is humility that will allow you to keep your seat in this place, Israel. Love coming up here to Toronto. It's so interesting to be able to have service here because I always say it's so lively with the altar. This 40th year has been such a blessing to be able to reflect on all that is to come and all that is ready for us to be built. And I will say, sometimes it is intimidating to think about all that we have to do. I mean, that temple, it stays in the back of my head. How are we going to get that temple? But it's important for us to remember that we are innovators. We are trendsetters. This Bible that we wrote, they are always stealing and taking for themselves. The original trendsetters is what I say. And we can see people are trying to wake up, okay? As we always say, there was a time where you would say, I'm an Israelite, and people would be like, what is that? And now they're grasping for our titles, watching us online, trying to steal what we have. And to me, that's an indicator that we really have something precious, a treasure. I want us to remember that when the going gets rough, we have to increase our appetite for fear. But that's not going to happen alone at home. That's not going to happen on an island saying it's me and myself and I'll figure it out. I don't need no one. No. True growth happens when we put ourselves through the fire, when we test ourselves. That is when our spirit has the ability to rise to the occasion. But it is only with the Spirit that we can do that, Israel. Again, I want you to remember those two things that I said early on. Can anyone remember one? I'm curious. You guys listening? Is anyone listening? I see a few confused. I see someone whispering it. Number one, I want you to remember that with great losses come even better gains. And number two, that the flesh can survive, but with the Spirit we thrive. Thank you so much for your time today.